All right, guys, it's a small group of us tonight. Sorry, there's cat hair in my mouth. Thanks for coming on the call. Tonight, I wanted to just kind of talk about more about what we talked about last week, which is overcoming the fear of recruiting. So this is part two. So just to start out the call, I didn't have much time to prepare before this call. Sorry, there's like cat hair everywhere. But I did just want to recognize all our new coaches, and I think we do have a couple new emeralds too. So way to go, everybody. And then our updates are the same as they were last week, but I'll go through them real quick just so that everyone's in the loop. Our last boot camp of the year started today. We'll start our recruiting blitz on December 26th. The roadmap I will have ready by the end of the week. Our next challenge group starts on January 5th. Excuse me. I am doing like a free 10-day group that I just started today. A challenge group if you guys want to join in. I think I have like 30 people in there now. So if you guys have anybody or want to join in, let me know. Excuse me. And the last thing is Melissa and I are doing an opportunity webinar on January 5th, just so that you guys know that. And then I'll kind of go into what we are going to talk about tonight. I felt like our sermon yesterday was very applicable to our business. I felt like it was applicable to any area of life. But tonight, like I said, we are going to talk about overcoming the fear of recruiting, and this really goes in with that. So the title of yesterday's sermon was Don't Get Stuck in a Bubble. And basically what Pastor Stephen was saying is like he gave us like this whole really cool example of like, you know how like when you're text messaging, if you have an iPhone, you can see when the person's typing, like you can see the three little bubbles and you're just sitting there in suspense, like waiting for what's going to happen. So he basically was telling us about like, don't overanalyze all these things when we're like waiting on a response from God or when we're waiting on something, and don't get stuck in our own little bubbles. And there's 3 different ways that we can get stuck, which I'll kind of talk about. But he was basically just saying that, you know, as humans, you know, sometimes we don't want to do what it takes to break through or have a breakthrough or break through these bubbles where we feel stuck. But if we do it anyway and we're obedient, God always provides. So 3 different ways we can get stuck. And I can definitely attest to all of these because before Tony Robbins, I was stuck in lots of bubbles, lots of these darned bubbles. So the first one is comfort. So he was just saying, you know, that we get, as humans, we get so stuck in our comfort zones. And sometimes we'll have these things that come up in our life. And, you know, they may look like an obstacle or they may feel like an obligation or it might feel uncomfortable. But don't send away those things because they're actually opportunities. And when you do anything that's out of your comfort zone, amazing things always happen from that. And, you know, God really is just kind of waiting to see your response of what you're going to do when you're in that situation. So that's the first thing, is we get stuck in our comfort zones. The second thing of where we get stuck is certainty. You know, we always want to be so certain that we're going to have the specific outcome. We make all these plans of what we're going to do with our life and how things are going to look and all that kind of stuff. But Pastor Stephen was saying that uncertainty, I can't even say it, is God's favorite place to operate. He also said that faith doesn't live in a bubble. It's in the things that are unseen. So when you're not sure what's going to happen, that's actually when God has like the biggest amount of room to move. And if you just trust in him, no matter how flippin' scared you are, no matter how much you don't know how it's going to work out, and just trust, then it happens. And the third thing of how we get stuck is calculation. And by gosh, this is one area. Oh gosh, my cat is like moving my mouse. This is the area that I felt like I still get stuck in. You know, we try to like calculate in our heads of all these things of like, well, this is how this is going to happen. And this is how that's going to happen. This is how this is going to happen. And we just think of all this stuff in our head. But he was basically saying, hang on, I just lost where I was in the notes. That doesn't even make any sense what I wrote down. But we can't put our faith in what we can see. Sometimes you might feel like, you know, you have all these calculations of how things should look or how things should be now, or like when it applies to your business, like, you know, you're not a certain rank yet, or you're not at a certain income goal yet, or whatever it may be. And you just have no flipping idea how you're going to get there. Well, you can't put faith in what you can see right now. if I would have done that in the situation that I was in back in October, I honestly had no idea, guys, how I would ever be elite qualified. It, like, Lindsay even told me, she's like, Jessica, it's going to be a long shot. And I'm like, before Tony Robbins, I did not believe that I could do it. But after Tony Robbins, I was like, I don't care. I'm going to make it happen. But if I would have put my faith in my situation then and my current circumstances, nothing would have ever happened because God wouldn't have had room to work. And what Pastor Stephen was talking about yesterday when it comes to the whole calculation thing, and that's an area where we get stuck, is he just kind of gave us that story. It's in, I'm not very good with the Bible yet, but it's Mark chapter 6, verse 41 is where it starts. And it's the story that we all know, like that story of where there's like a crowd of like thousands of people, and the people are hungry, and the disciples go to Jesus and they're like, hey, these people are hungry, come feed them. And Jesus tells them to feed them. And all they had was 5 fish and 2 loaves. But basically Jesus took all of that and it fed thousands of people to where they even had stuff left over. So really God can use something really small and turn it into something really big, but we just have to have faith. And honestly, you guys, if you give stuff over to God, you're never going to lose anything. Like, you're going to get more back than what you give in or what you put in. So I just thought that those were definitely, I could relate to all of them. Getting stuck in our comfort zones, getting stuck in certainty, and getting stuck in that calculation thing. So basically it all just boils down to, just give it over to God, stop obsessing, stop trying to plan everything yourself, and just have faith, and things will happen. And that will push you out of your comfort zone and help you overcome all your fears. So that's why I thought it applied to our call tonight. And that's all I really wanted to share, because I wanted to hand it over to Chelsea, and she's just going to give you guys some tips on what she did to overcome her fears about recruiting, and just some things that she has that she wants to share that will help you guys. So I'm going to unmute Chelsea and mute myself.
Okay. I may have said these things a couple times before, but it's what's worked for me. So I'm just going to repeat myself again. I do have a cold, so I'm sorry if I sound a little stuffy. But I just want to talk about first, obviously I was afraid to recruit myself. I think for the first month of coaching, I was afraid to talk to anyone. I didn't make a paycheck. I didn't want to invite anyone. I didn't want to reach out to anyone. And I think that, my fear, I had never had an issue posting on social media, because I was all about posting on social media. I could post things, but it was just talking to people that I was really scared of. I think that the reason I was afraid to reach out to people or recruit people was the fear of rejection. I definitely did not, just hearing no and or hearing, their opinion or whatever it was, just rejection in general in all of its forms, I was definitely afraid of. And I think what really helped me overcome the fear was a lot of personal development, learning that rejection is not personal, that, no just means not right now, whatever it is. Personal development was absolutely one of the things that helped me not be afraid anymore. But honestly, I think most of it was just seeing other people's success, listening to the podcast every week, the wake up call, or seeing how Jess was progressing, or Lindsay, or whoever it was. I was always like, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it? I'm holding myself back for absolutely no reason. I want to succeed at this. So I have to recruit people. There's no way, no one is magically going to know that I'm a coach, and no one's magically just going to be like, oh my God, you're a coach. I heard somehow that you're a coach, and I'm actually coming to you because I want to join your team. I'm not going to succeed that way. So I had to decide that success was more important than rejection. And that, I was giving this opportunity to people, and it's a life-changing one. So, I had to decide that was a good thing that I was doing, not that I was being an annoyance. So the things that I have found that have worked best for me as far as recruiting, there's 3 things, along with personal development, because that's huge. It took me a while to get the importance of personal development. I did not do it for the first 2 months of coaching, maybe even longer. So the first thing that works for me is mass inviting. I think when I decided I wanted to be Diamond, when I got into Lindsay's Diamond Mastermind group, I made a dream team list of, I think it was like 87 people. I literally went through my whole Facebook and my whole contact list on my phone, wrote down every single person. And I think the first day I sent out 32 invites just in one day, just copy and paste my indirect invite and sent it to every single person. those 30 of them. I think within the next couple days, it was like 10 or 15 a day. But it was just sending out as many invites as I could, as quickly as I could. Then after that, it was mostly what I found successful, and I have Jess to thank for this, is to use your sponsor, not use them, but if you need help with your responses, because I sent out 32 invites in one day, I was bound to have tons of responses, and I didn't always know what to say. So a big thing was keeping Jess in the loop, asking her what I should say to this, what should I do to this, where's a resource for this, and then when it came to, okay, I have 3 coaches on this side and 4 on this side, and this is where I'm at, just everything that I'm doing, I let her know. She was there to help me through all of it. She did 3-ways with me, which I'm highly recommending to all my coaches that are going for Diamond right now. Send them an indirect invite, send them Jess's video or whatever form of video that you would like to do. I highly recommend a video. And then, once they say, oh, I'm not really sure, oh, I don't really know, what is this about? Just be like, oh, I'd love to introduce you to my sponsor. She can answer all your questions. Would you mind getting on a 3-way call with her so that we can all chat? So keeping Jess involved in everything was a huge part of my success. I don't think I would have succeeded without her. And most importantly, in this one, I struggled with at first. I could copy and paste an indirect invite to 100 million, 1,000 people within a week. But the most important thing is to follow up. Every other day, I would give them one whole day or maybe 2 days, and I would always follow up with them. I mostly did everything on Facebook. So if I saw that they read the message and just hadn't responded, then I would absolutely, send them another message and be like, hey, how's your week so far? Always follow up with something non-Beachbody related. If you just keep saying, hey, did you watch that video? Hey, did you get my message? Hey, you want to be a coach? If you just keep messaging them about Beachbody and, you don't work on the relationship first, then they're not going to respond to you. So I would always follow up within 2 days. Once they responded and told me about their week, how was your week? Then I would be like, hey, by the way, did you get that message that I sent you? Would you mind taking a peek at that video for me? I don't think I had one person that I sent this invite to that saw it, saw the message, responded, and not one person said, no, I'm not going to watch your video. Leave me alone. Every single person said, yeah, of course, absolutely. Thank you so much for saying those things about me. The indirect invite says that you admire them and you love their passion for this and that. So every single person that I sent it to said, of course, like, I'd love to watch it for you, to send it over. So following up in that aspect, and then always following up as far as, watching the video. I always say, like, hey, if I check back tomorrow at this time, is that enough time to watch? Never say, like, okay, let me know when you're done watching, because they won't respond. They'll never get back to you. So those are the 3 most important things. Obviously, personal development has been a huge thing for me lately. Vegas helped. Eric Worre helped. My most recent and most impact personal development has been Les Brown. Anything Les Brown, I listen to him for half an hour at least every single morning. He's amazing. Him and Tony Robbins have absolutely, and I don't have any specific, I just usually YouTube them and pick a video that I feel like watching that day. So I have no specifics on that, but those 2 people recently have had the greatest impact on me and my business. That's all I have.
I love it, Boo. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll mute you back now.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, Melanie also added Tony Robbins. There's 2 different programs. I can't remember what they're both called. I know one is Unleash the Power Within, but there's another one, and they're all in our personal development folder in our Dropbox. So yeah, all those things that Chelsea just told you guys, literally, like, that's all that it takes. It's actually really that easy. And I know, like, even though you guys might not believe this about me, I know how it feels to be afraid of this stuff, because I was terrified of it for the first 9 months of the business. Like I told you guys on the call last week, like, I would avoid talking to people about it. Even if I would do like a coffee date with a friend in person to talk about it, I would avoid talking about it the whole time. And when they brought it up, my hands would get all sweaty, and like I would want to cry and be like, oh my God, what do I say? And like, you could never have caught me dead on the phone talking to someone. And now that's all I do. But honestly, it's only because I practiced it even when I was so scared I wanted to poop my pants, and I did personal development. Those are the only things that are going to make you get better. So I did just want to give you guys a couple action items on how you can apply this to your business. It's 3 real quick things. Number 1, join our next recruiting blitz. We start on December 26th. It's going to be really easy. I have a roadmap that I made for you guys that tells you exactly what to do every day, shows you exactly what to post every day. I know the girls that are all diamond right now have done several blitzes with me so far, and that has tremendously impacted their rank and their business. So join the blitz with us. Number 2, if you've never watched The Secret, you got to go watch it on YouTube. Like, it's only a little bit over an hour. But literally, you guys, I watched that, and well, it didn't really completely sink in until after Tony Robbins, but that thing made me scared to have negative thoughts, because I've always been like a Debbie Downer, like doubted myself, doubted my ability. I always knew that God would, work, but I doubted myself. And then when I watched this, I was just like, wow, I never want to have a negative thought again, because the thoughts that you have and what you say out loud is what you attract into your life. And I was just like, well, I don't want any of this bad stuff anymore. So I'm just going to like completely avoid it. And I felt like I was lying to myself at first, because I'm like, well, I don't really believe that, but I don't want it. So I got to think, like, I don't want a bad thing to happen. So I got to think it anyway. So The Secret is life-changing. Go watch that. And the third thing is you can actually look up the audiobook on YouTube, or you can purchase the book. It's called Think and Grow Rich. Same scenario. Basically scared the crap out of me to where I never would think negative again. It teaches you about how important our thoughts are, the importance of daily affirmations, writing your goals down, and, making it in front of you and just telling yourself every day. Like, I was just telling Trisha's coaches this on a call that we did for the girls that want to go diamond. Like, the daily affirmations are so important, because it tricks your mind into like attracting in everything that you need to make that goal happen. Like, I was telling them, I'm like, I wrote it down, put it on a note card in my bathroom so that I could see it multiple times a day. And I would say it out loud as soon as I woke up. I would say it before I go to bed. And I would even like chant it while I was running down the street. So people probably thought I was weird, but that's okay, because it happened. So yeah, join our blitz, watch The Secret, and then purchase Think and Grow Rich. Excuse me, does anyone have any questions about anything we talked about, since we still have, some time on here? If you do have any questions, sorry guys, you can just type it in the chat box and I'll unmute you. Nobody has anything? Okay. Well, here's a closing quote. This is from Pastor Stephen from the sermon this weekend. I freaking loved it. Everything remarkable that God does is outside of our comfort zones, and miracles never happen when you're in yours. I loved it, so I thought I would share. So I love you guys so much. Thanks for coming on the call, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday nights. And thanks again for sharing, Chelsea, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, everybody.